Hello, my name is Velma. My grandchildren call me Mima or Granny. I'm going to tell you a story that may scare you, disturb you, or even make you wonder if there is a devil. Demons, if they really exist. My story is totally true. Listen and come to your own conclusion. In the year of 1840, a well-thought-of man, John D. Kelly, and Emmeline Ritchie, shortened to Emma, fell deeply in love. They lived in Locks Creek, up in a hollow in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, near Hazard, the center of the Appalachian mountain range. He built a large log cabin where they could raise children that they planned to have. They married and had 2 daughters and 2 sons. Their lives were filled with children's laughter, meals eaten together with family and friends. At Christmas, stockings hang from the fireplace mantel. A pine tree was cut by John and set up by the window. Emma and the children made wonderful, mostly paper, decorations for the tree. Then in 1861, the Civil War began. John volunteered with his brothers and promised his precious Emma he would come back. He did, but his brothers didn't. Many generations grew up in a log cabin, moved away, passed away, and were buried in the almost full cemetery. Graves had to be dug within 50 yards of the side of the cabin. Many of the people died in World War I and World War II. Many came home demented from being shot, captured, and beaten. Days and nights in foxholes, and often screamed out in the middle of the night. One of them kept screaming that he saw demons. One day he picked up one of his baby nephews and went to the fireplace and said, "This baby is a demon." And the baby's mother got him away just before he was thrown in the fire. People believed he was going to throw him in there. He ended up in a mental institution for the rest of his life. By 1950, my uncles and aunts had grown up and moved away. My grandmother lived alone in the cabin. I loved visiting her. I watched her quilt while I played in the drawers of a chest nearby. There was a small dish set with little red plastic spoons, knives, and forks in a large bottle shaped like a violin. And that was my favorite thing. I remember a beautiful flowered throw rug at the entryway. My grandfather had passed away years back, so she often went to stay a week or so with the grown children who had moved to the city of Lexington, Kentucky. She always left the house key on my parents' kitchen table in case we needed something from the house. So this time, I thought of those drawers and the ones I hadn't explored. I was 6 and in the 1st grade. When school came time next day, I told my parents I had stomach ache and I was very ill. When my brothers and sister went to school, and my parents went to work in the field, I sprang into action. I jumped out of bed, put my clothes on. I grabbed the key, ran out and started running as fast as I could through the cornfield to my grandmother's house. Corn husks scraping my face and arms. There were scarecrows and they seemed to come to life. with blood-red eyes saying, "Go back, go back." It wasn't that far, as you could see my grandmother's house from our house, but it seemed like a mile. I finally got there, heart beating through my chest. I sensed danger and wanted to go home, but kept thinking about wanting to play with those wonderful toys. I put the key in the lock, but it wouldn't work. I turned it around and the door opened. I slowly stepped in, and I wasn't scared anymore because I could see that beautiful flowered rug at the entrance of the side room. With the sun shining on it through the window, I took a few steps in. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. Then something like electric shock went through my body. I felt something like a sharp knife in my back. Suddenly, I was no longer able to move any part of my body. Couldn't run, couldn't move. Something was running down my back and onto my feet. I knew it was blood. I don't know how long I stood there. I don't even remember what happened. I do remember finally being released. I could feel my body then. I moved my foot, looked down, and both feet were covered with blood. I looked up, and a figure clad in black was going up a curved stairs beside the fireplace. Stairs had never been there before. He turned around, flashing red eyes, looking through my soul, and said in a demon's voice, "Never come back again." I don't remember leaving and running through the cornfield, but I know I dropped the key I had been gripping in my hand. When I got home, I grabbed a washcloth to clean the blood off, but there was no blood inside. Not on my body, not on my clothes. I jumped back in the bed and under the cover. I was so terrified I couldn't even scream. I tried to convince myself it was just a dream. The only way to know was to look in the cornfield for the key. A week later, I crept through a slight trail I had made in corn stalks, and just a few yards into the field, on the ground, there was a shining object. It was the key, so it hadn't been a dream. I believe something supernatural happened to me during that time. Because I see things before they happen sometimes. I see things other people don't. I talk to people sometimes that have passed. 7 decades later, I still wake up at night sometimes screaming, seeing that black-clad figure with the large flashing blood-red eyes going up the curved stairs. My grandmother moved out of the cabin into her other house shortly after because strange things started happening to her. She feared she would lose her life if she didn't move immediately. She had gone to check the cellar because she had heard a constant knocking noise down there. She made her way down icy steps because it was winter time, opened the cellar door, and immediately it slammed right behind her. Suddenly, she was in the dark, 30 degrees, hole in the wall with no way out. She had only grabbed a heavy sweater and not a coat because she was just going down there and run right back. She could hear rats all around her in the dark, feel them running over her feet. She screamed for hours. She thought she was going to freeze to death. Someone finally heard her screaming, banging on the door. At times, she heard voices and people walking about at night. It was the last straw when she heard noises outside, looked through the window, and cloudy, body-shaped creatures were walking about the cemetery. They seemed to be calling her name. Martha, Martha. Perhaps the graves had been dug too close to the house. Thereafter, the cabin, built with so much love, was now called the Haunted House. And people were terrified to walk by it at night. About 8 years later, my 2 uncles and aunt came to the mountain holler to stay with us children while our parents had to go out of state for a funeral. They were college age. My Aunt Mary Lee dared my uncles to go with her to the cabin to play cards. They went, built a fire, moved a table in front of the fire. My uncle told my aunt it was a sin to play cards, and he felt like the devil was there. She laughed at him and said, "Hey, devil, if you're here, give me a sign." All of a sudden, a flaming piece of wood jumped out of the fire and hit her smack in the face. They all threw those cards down and came running into our house screaming. Some didn't believe it, but I did. I knew demons had finally taken over.